Building a good repertoire of songs that implement different rhythmic concepts is a great way to build this solid foundation for your strumming technique. These are 10 songs that I use when I'm teaching guitar to help my students with their rhythm playing. Starting with an easy song like Heroes by David Bowie is a great one for working on fundamentals. I like to encourage a nice relaxed feeling in the arm and the wrist as you strum, and not hold the pick too tightly. That'll help the pick kind of glide across the strings a bit more easily. You can use a really easy 8-note strumming pattern for this, like 1, 2 and 3, 4, or down, down, up, down, down. Just make sure you can tap the foot to the main pulse, the 1, 2, 3, 4 at the same time. It should kind of feel like your hand is attached to the foot by a piece of string, and that is kind of the definition of an 8-note strumming pattern, I think, you know, where the hand and foot are moving at the same pace on the main pulse, and there's a maximum of 8 strums within one bar that way. So, you know, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and I think Heroes is just a really good introduction into that way of strumming. Stuck in the Middle by Steeler's Wheel is a more advanced 8-note strumming pattern because it's syncopated, meaning it emphasises the offbeats more. You still have to try and strum and count on beats 2, 3 and 4 because that's what helps the upstrokes stay in time. If that feels okay and you want to get close to the sound of the track, then you could try dampening on beats 2, 3 and 4. The dampening should feel like a downstroke, but you're just making contact with the strings with the fleshy side of your hand as you do that downstroke motion. Come Away With Me by Norah Jones is a lovely relaxed tune that introduces 2 new concepts. One is strumming in 3/4 time, which is pretty straightforward. All you have to do is take out beat 4 from all the strumming patterns that we were doing before, which were in 4/4 time. So for a strumming pattern like Heroes, where we were doing 1, 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2 and 3, 4, we just take out beat 4. 1, 2 and 3, 1, 2 and 3. The second thing is that this piece has a swing feel. So the easiest way to think of the difference between straight time and swing time, I think, is to think of straight time as being really regimented and almost mechanically perfect. You know, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... The distance in time between each strum is exactly the same, whereas with swing time, you can call it the lazy and. The and is lazy and happens a little bit later. So you get this 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I've had a few students where they drift into playing everything swing time accidentally. A good thing to practice to make sure you've got real control over your swing feel is to try strumming along to a metronome, so keeping the same main pulse, but switching from straight time to swing time at any point. So I won't play along to a metronome now, but I'll keep the main pulse the same. So it would go straight time, 2 and 3 and 4, swing, straight, swing. Anyway, the 3/4 pattern that we had was 1, 2 and 3, 1, 2 and 3. So when you swing that, you get 1, 2 and 3, 1, 2 and 3. Next is Like a Rolling Stone by Bob Dylan. This one's a great one for learning how to strum in 16th note rhythms. So far I've only been doing songs that use 8-note rhythms, where the hand and the foot are moving at the exact same pace, the pace of the main pulse. With 16th note rhythms, the hand moves twice as fast as the main pulse. So instead of counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, you get more divisions of the beat, and you can normally count it 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a... 16th note strumming patterns get used a lot on slower songs like this, where 8-note strumming patterns will probably sound a bit boring with it. So just make sure you don't tap your foot twice as much as you should do. It should be just on the main pulse, just on the numbers. It is easier to tap it twice as much, but it does change the feel. It changes the feel into more of an 8th note feel. I'll play Like a Rolling Stone and see if you can hear the difference in feel as I go from 8th note to 16th note feel, but I'm going to keep the same strumming pattern. Wonderwall by Oasis is a good one for more syncopated 16th note rhythms. Just make sure your hand's always moving at a steady pace, you know, no pauses or jolts. And it's a good one to start to try and improvise with your strumming patterns a little as well. You don't have to stick rigidly to a set strumming pattern, you can extemporize a little bit with it. I Walk the Line by Johnny Cash is a really good example of a faster paced 16th note rhythm, and it's a really good default strumming pattern for a country rhythm guitar style. The difficulty is not in its complexity, it's just 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a, so it's just, you know, 1 and a repeated over and over. The difficulty is more with its speed, the pace of it. And if you really want to get that country sort of tinge to it, then try emphasizing the thicker strings on each number, the 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, and then emphasize the thinner strings on the offbeats, the and a. So you end up with 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a... The rock equivalent of this kind of strumming technique is that galloping rhythm that gets played in a lot of Iron Maiden tunes like Run to the Hills. So far I've only talked about strumming patterns separately as either 8-note strumming patterns, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, or 16th note strumming patterns, 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a... You don't normally mix those two forms of strumming because it can lead to a kind of inconsistent and jerky technique with your strumming hand. But some songs do exactly that. They mix 16th note patterns with 8th note patterns. And how it's normally done is the 16th note pattern is used as a little flurry of action before settling back down into the more relaxed 8th note feel. One of my favourite examples of this is That's Entertainment by the Jam. Another one that you can play like that is Tequila Sunrise by the Eagles. Everybody Hurts by R.E.M. is a really good reference track for 6/8 time. That picked arpeggiated chord riff in the intro really helps you hear those two groups of three that make up 6/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So because it's groups of three, you can think of 6/8 as being very similar to 3/4 time. It's just a much faster pace, and so fast, in fact, that you wouldn't find it very comfortable to count it in the same way as 3/4. You wouldn't count the main pulse on each of the three beats anymore because it's just uncomfortable. Listen, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So it makes more sense to count to 6 and count the main pulse as beats 1 and 4, the beginning of each group of three. So you end up with a sort of more relaxed feel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So all the numbers are played with down strums, and any off beats you can play with an up strum in between. So something like 1, 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6. So in kind of the same way as when you speed up 3/4, you eventually get a 6/8 time signature feel. If you speed up 6/8 enough, you eventually get to a 12/8 feel. It's still divisions of 3, but it's now 4 divisions of 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you can actually count it in a very similar way to 4/4. We've kind of gone full circle, and you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, and then just feel the divisions of 3 underneath that. But they are actually beats 1, 4, 7 and 10. A A song where you can really clearly hear this is Designed for Life by Manic Street Preachers. You should be able to hear that underlying main pulse of 4, but yet still hear the divisions of 3 between each beat. As for actually strumming in 12/8 time, you've got 3 main options. Option 1 is to just treat it like a 4/4 swing time feel. I won't go into why that works, but it just does. That'll work fine. The second option is to play all downstrokes for every one of the 12 beats. It can feel a bit frantic, but it can work quite well for some stuff. Option 3 is to strictly alternate between down and up for every one of the 12 beats. It can just feel a little bit odd because some of the main pulse beats, 1, 4, 7 and 10, you can sometimes end up on an upstroke with, so it just feels a bit odd. But for some rhythms it works really well. The kind of military rhythm to the intro to Importance of Being Ideal by Oasis, it works pretty well for. Going back to Designed for Life, for the chorus strumming in that song, I like to use mainly option 1, where we're basically just treating it like 4/4 swing. But for the faster passing chord sections, I prefer to use option 2, where you're playing downstrokes for every beat. See if you can see where I'm doing it. Lateralus by Tool is a really good one for working on strumming with time signature changes. A lot of metal tunes do this. Master of Puppets by Metallica uses bars of 5/8 and 6/4 time in them, but acoustic and folk tunes can do it as well. Everybody Knows This Is Nowhere by Neil Young does it, as well as Ring of Fire by Johnny Cash. They both have kind of time signature changes sprinkled throughout them. Anyway, for Lateralus, what I'll call the main riff alternates between time signatures 9/8, 8/8 and 7/8. Try counting along, and if you found this video interesting, think about liking the video and maybe subscribing to the channel.